The following is an ESG On Location video.
This year was my first reInvent, and I have to say it was a really impressive event. It pulled in over 43,000 IT professionals, and it took up probably half of Vegas Strip. There was a lot of buzz and excitement at the show, and reminded me a lot of the early VMworld and Tech Ed shows. All the sessions were sold out, and all the attendees I spoke to had really good reasons for attending and had specific sessions that they wanted to attend and were clearly there to learn. It was really interesting to see how much AWS continues to innovate, from the keynotes really emphasizing that they're the company who wants to stay ahead and be ahead. So it was really easy for organizations to see how they could onboard, and now actually extending out and getting to some of those use cases. ESG sent a number of ESG analysts here to make sure there's full coverage. So let's hear from a few of them as well.
Hi, I'm Edwin Yuen, ESG analyst on systems management, PaaS, and DevOps. And I'm here at the AWS reInvent show for 2017. Now today we just heard a lot of the announcement that Andy Jassy made about AWS and some of the new services that they had. I think there are two key points that we want to think about when it comes to the announcements that were made. First is really the sheer size and the momentum that AWS has. They really talked about the market share that they have and that they're still growing by 42% every year, an $18 billion run rate. And what we're seeing is that even though AWS is very large, they continue to grow and add customers and services. The other point we want to know is about all the different services that AWS continues to add. They showed, the plenty of services that they had on a large chart, how they compare against the other providers, but it is an open question about those companies that are multi-cloud, and our research found that over 2/3 of companies are multi-cloud. But what do those multi-cloud companies do? Do they invest in AWS and take advantage of those unique services? Or do they kind of limit themselves to use services that are found across providers if they want to use multiple clouds? I think AWS's position is that people want to go ahead and focus on these new advanced services, ones unique to AWS, and that's going to drive the uses of AWS in comparison to the other vendors. But it is a very interesting area, especially for multi-cloud users, to understand how much they want to go ahead and invest with AWS and how much they want to hedge their bets and go with all the other cloud providers.
I'm here at AWS 2017 with a whole slew of my ESG colleagues, mainly because there's a whole slew of things being announced this week. I mean, AWS frankly has an enormous portfolio that touches just about every part of tech. This is my first reInvent conference, and I'm impressed by the breadth and depth of their integrations across the ecosystem. But I think the part that impresses me the most is the visibility of VMware here at reInvent. And it's been mentioned on the main stage, it was mentioned in the analyst breakouts quite prominently. Now if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I'd have said VMware needs to partner up with somebody like AWS because the cloud is going to play a huge role in our future. But I never would have expected it to happen. Fast forward a couple of years and the partnership was announced last year and of course looked at with speculation. The first regional zone was announced in August, but now here they've had presence on the main stage. As I said, they've had presence in every session and they really are executing on the partnership. It's much more than a marketing partnership, it's a true integration partnership. And my friends at VMware and Amazon tell me they're seeing much higher adoption of the initial solutions than they expected. So now we've got DR, we've got bare metal containers that you can run VMware on in the cloud. We've got more zones getting introduced, and you're going to hear more as time goes on. So to me, that's one of the most significant things that I've heard, primarily because customers I talk to really want to manage hybrid IT environments. They want to have the ability to go into the cloud for the right applications when they're ready. This VMware partnership makes that ability to have a common set of tools on-prem and in the cloud a reality. And I think it's going to continue to gain traction, and we're going to see a lot more in the years to come.
So this is Dan Conde, Cloud Platforms Analyst at ESG, and I also cover networking, and one of the things that really pleased me is the fact that at the Partner Summit at reInvent, they formalized the network competency that allows a handful of really good networking ISVs to be true participants in the ecosystem of ISVs that provide solutions on top of AWS by providing the confidence to the enterprise customers that they are well integrated and tested and cross a certain bar that allows these ecosystems of storage as well as compute partners to be joined by networking. And that seems like a relatively minor thing, but it really completes the entire vision of having storage, compute, and networking, all having the right kind of competencies to attract all the good ISVs to be available for the enterprise customers through the marketplace. And that is a partner-oriented movement, but it shows that AWS, with its maturity, shows that it's not just a technology that matters, but actually involving an entire marketplace and the ISV ecosystem to provide a good solution for the enterprise customers.
On the expo floor, it was great to see a mix of networking companies in attendance to really be able to help customers understand how they're going to connect to the public cloud. And this is really important. Our ESG research shows that one of the top impacts of public cloud networking on network strategies is to ensure a seamless data center and WAN links to the cloud from the on-premises location. And that's why it was important to see companies like Cisco, Juniper, and Arista there, so they could talk about how they're going to help enable seamless connectivity from the data center to those cloud environments and create hybrid cloud environments. That same research also shows that organizations are trying to find increased or improved connectivity to cloud service providers. And fortunately for those who are in attendance, they could swing by and see companies like AT&T, Verizon, CenturyLink, Comcast, even China Telecom Americas was there. And there are also some SD-WAN vendors there, so VeloCloud stood out, and also Cisco, who had recently acquired Viptela. I think that's important because the SD-WAN technology is really shaping up to be a really important piece of the public cloud computing equation. AWS actually commissioned ESG to validate a number of the SD-WAN vendors to demonstrate the ease and value of connecting to the AWS cloud with SD-WAN. It was great to see the number of networking vendors at the show this year, and I expect next year we'll see even more as the network becomes far more relevant in enabling organizations to connect to the cloud.